Hey guys, did you know that every time you lose your temper, you are voluntarily handing over the remote control of your mind to the exact person you despise the most? Have you ever felt so angry that you couldn't control yourself when someone said or did something that hurt you? Or felt like the world is turning its back on you because of an offhand comment? In today's fast-paced, high-pressure world, it is incredibly easy to get caught in a whirlwind of negative emotions, ranging from minor annoyances to overwhelming, blinding anger. Imagine standing in a long supermarket checkout line on a busy Sunday afternoon, surrounded by impatient shoppers, when suddenly, a stranger cuts right in front of you without so much as an apology or a glance back. Instantly, irritation rises in your chest. You feel profoundly disrespected, and you could easily respond by voicing your anger, grumbling under your breath, or carrying that bitter resentment for the rest of your day. You might replay that 10-second interaction in your head during your evening commute. Tell your family about it at dinner, and let it ruin your entire night. But here is the counterintuitive truth: that stranger did not ruin your day. You did. You took the steering wheel of your own emotional state and handed it right over to a rude stranger who probably forgot you existed the moment they walked out of the store. This is the grand illusion of anger. We constantly operate under the false assumption that external events and other people dictate our emotional reality. We tell ourselves that our coworker making a sarcastic remark is the reason we feel miserable, or that the driver cutting us off on the freeway is the reason our blood is boiling. But is there a way to remain totally unshaken? To prevent anyone from disturbing your inner peace? Can we truly live a calm, untroubled life, completely free from the emotional grip of others thousands of years ago? The ancient philosophy of Stoicism offered a profound and timeless answer to this exact psychological trap. Philosophers like Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, and Seneca endured unimaginably harsh times, yet they maintained an impenetrable tranquility. They understood a fundamental secret about human psychology. It is not the events that happen to you that cause your suffering, but rather how you interpret and react to those events. As the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius wisely observed, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Whenever you allow someone else's hasty behavior or careless words to dictate your mood, you are acting like a passenger in your own life. You are letting someone else drive the car. But what if you could build a mental shield so strong that no insult, no frustrating delay, and no toxic person could ever penetrate it? What if you could reclaim that remote control and decide, once and for all, exactly how you are going to feel regardless of the chaos unfolding around you? This is not just some abstract theory. It is a highly practical, actionable method to take full control of your soul and master your emotions. Today, we are going to break down the exact steps to dismantle this illusion of anger, step by step, so you can navigate this chaotic, imperfect world with unshakable confidence and profound inner peace. Starting with recognizing the simple fact that your mind belongs to you, and no one is allowed inside without your permission. Now that we understand that we hold the remote control to our emotions, we have to ask ourselves a very uncomfortable question. Why do we keep pressing the self-destruct button? Why is it so incredibly easy to feel irritated by the people around us? The answer lies in the root cause of all our emotional pain, which is not the actions of other people, but our own relentless judgment of them. We walk through life wearing a pair of heavily tinted, scratched glasses, and then we get angry at the world for looking blurry. Human beings naturally view the world through their deeply personal lenses. When someone acts in a way that goes against our expectations, our immediate reflex is to slap a label on them. Imagine you are driving down the interstate on your morning commute. The speed limit is 65 miles per hour, but the car in front of you is crawling along at 40 miles per hour. Your immediate thought is probably that this person is incompetent, reckless, or just plain stupid. Your blood pressure spikes, and you grip the steering wheel until your knuckles turn white. But let us pause and look through a different lens. What if that driver is a terrified teenager on their very first time on the highway? What if they are an elderly man driving his sick wife to the hospital, or someone driving carefully because they have children in the car? The moment you introduce an alternative explanation, your anger evaporates. This proves a profound counterintuitive truth. The slow car did not make you angry. Your judgment of the slow driver made you angry. As the great Stoic philosopher Epictetus profoundly stated, it is not events that disturb people, it is their judgments concerning them. We suffer because we demand perfection from a world that is fundamentally flawed and chaotic. We harbor this secret, unspoken expectation that everyone should drive perfectly, speak politely, and act exactly the way we want them to act. When you expect perfection from flawed human beings, you are setting a trap for yourself and walking right into it every single day. Think about a coworker who is constantly late to the office or makes an error on a group project. If your internal narrative says that they are lazy and disrespectful, your irritation will inevitably grow into deep resentment. However, if you drop the judgment and consider that they might be secretly battling a severe health issue or caring for a sick loved one, your perspective softens. Dropping your judgment does not mean you are making excuses for bad behavior or letting people walk all over you. It means you are putting up a shield and protecting yourself from unnecessary negative emotions. You are refusing to carry the heavy, toxic baggage of other people. People are complex mixes of their past traumas, their current stress, and their level of understanding. When someone is rude to you, they are almost never attacking you personally. They are simply projecting their own internal chaos outward. If you take their behavior personally and judge them for it, you are willingly stepping into their storm. The next time you feel that familiar heat of anger rising in your chest because of someone else, you must realize that you are the one holding the match. You have the power to blow it out by simply choosing to observe the situation without attaching a harsh opinion to it. By dropping your demand for perfection and taking off those scratched glasses, you will immediately see the world clearly. Not as a place full of annoying enemies, but as a place full of struggling human beings just trying to navigate their own difficult lives. Understanding that other people are simply navigating their own internal chaos is a powerful realization. But let us be completely honest with ourselves for a moment. Knowing this intellectually and actually applying it in the heat of the moment are two entirely different things. When someone insults you directly to your face or sends you a highly passive-aggressive email, your biological instinct is not to feel deep empathy for them. Your primitive brain perceives their words as a physical threat. Your heart rate skyrockets, adrenaline floods your system, and your immediate, overwhelming urge is to fight back, to defend your territory, and to prove that you are right. This is exactly where most of us lose the battle for our inner peace. We react. We fire off a defensive email within 30 seconds, or we snap back with a harsh comment that we almost instantly regret. But what if you had a secret weapon that could completely neutralize this biological trap? This weapon does not cost a single dollar. It requires no special equipment, and it only takes 1 second to use. It is the profound power of the pause. Imagine you are sitting in a brightly lit corporate boardroom for a critical project review. You have spent 3 weeks pouring your energy into this presentation. Suddenly, a colleague interrupts you and openly criticizes your work in front of your manager, calling your ideas unrealistic and poorly researched. Instantly, a hot wave of embarrassment and intense anger washes over you. Every single fiber of your being wants to retaliate, to point out their recent failures, and to restore your pride in front of the room. If you give in to that reflex, you enter their storm. You become just as chaotic as they are. As an old proverb suggests, if a donkey kicks you and you kick the donkey back, you simply become another donkey. Instead, try something completely counterintuitive. Do absolutely nothing. Just pause. Take 1 deep, intentional breath. Let the silence hang in the air for 2 or 3 seconds. That tiny gap of time is the space where your freedom lives. In that 1 second, the initial wave of adrenaline begins to fade, and your logical brain comes back online. You realize that your colleague and their hasty behavior does not define your worth or your abilities. It merely reflects their own insecurity or desire for attention in that specific moment. By choosing to delay your reaction, you protect your calmness. You can simply smile, look them in the eye, and quietly say that you appreciate their feedback and will address their concerns after you finish presenting your ideas. In an instant, the power dynamic of the entire room shifts. Your colleague is completely disarmed by your poise, and your manager is impressed by your unbreakable composure. You leave the meeting with your confidence intact and your peace of mind undisturbed. The ancient Roman philosopher Seneca wisely advised that the greatest remedy for anger is delay. This applies to every area of your life. If you receive an infuriating text message, put your phone in a drawer for an hour before you type a single letter. If your partner says something irritating while you are cooking dinner in the kitchen, slowly count to 5 in your head before you open your mouth. Silence does not signify weakness. It reflects an immense, impenetrable inner strength. It proves that you are the undisputed master of your own mind. By forcing a pause between the triggering event and your response, you cut the invisible strings that others try to attach to your emotions, ensuring that no one can ever pull you into their chaos against your will. Once you have mastered the art of the 1-second pause, you unlock the next critical level of emotional mastery, which is building what we can call the shield of ownership. In our modern society, It is incredibly common to hear people say things like, "He made me so angry," or "This terrible traffic is ruining my entire morning." We constantly speak as if our emotions are a physical virus that we caught from someone else, completely against our will. We act as if other people hold a magic wand that can instantly alter our internal state. But when we talk this way, we are voluntarily acting like helpless victims in the story of our own lives. The ancient Stoics demanded that we face a much harsher, yet profoundly liberating reality. We must draw an absolute, impenetrable line between the events that happen outside of us and the thoughts that happen inside of us. Imagine you are walking into your office building on a busy Tuesday morning, holding a fresh, expensive cup of coffee. A distracted coworker who is aggressively typing on their smartphone and not looking where they are walking crashes right into you. The coffee spills all over your crisp, clean shirt. The external event is the physical collision and the stained fabric. That is a completely objective fact, and it is entirely out of your control. But the intense, boiling anger, the immediate urge to shout at them, and the decision to let this single clumsy mistake ruin the next 8 hours of your workday, that is entirely your own creation. You cannot control the distracted coworker, but you have absolute, dictatorial control over how you interpret the spilled coffee. You could choose to view it as a personal attack on your day, or you could view it as a simple, harmless accident by a human being who is clearly overwhelmed by their own busy schedule. Taking full responsibility for your feelings means accepting the hard truth that nobody can force you to feel anything. People can shout at you. They can criticize your ambitious projects. They can forget your birthday, or they can cut you off on the interstate. But they absolutely cannot reach inside your brain and pull the hidden levers of your emotions. You are the sole architect of your internal world. Consider a time when you expected your romantic partner to understand exactly why you were stressed after a long day. But they completely missed the cues and talked about their own problems instead. Your reflex is to feel deeply neglected and resentful, but your partner did not inject that resentment into your veins. Your unrealistic expectation that they should be able to read your mind is what caused your suffering. This is a terrifying realization for many people because it permanently removes our favorite excuse. We can no longer blame our boss, our family, or the economy for our miserable moods. However, this is also the most empowering psychological shift you will ever experience. It is exactly like realizing you are the one firmly holding the steering wheel of a massive ship after spending years complaining about where the wind was blowing you. You are no longer tossed around by the turbulent waves of other people and their unpredictable, chaotic behavior. As the great Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius powerfully declared, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. And this you have the power to revoke at any moment. Your mind is your private, heavily guarded fortress. The actions of others are simply the weather outside the thick stone walls. It might be raining. It might be thundering. But the harsh weather cannot ever break through those solid stones unless you voluntarily unlock the heavy iron gates and let the raging storm inside." By accepting absolute ownership of your emotional state, You permanently stop waiting for the world to behave perfectly, and you start building a resilient mind that remains perfectly calm no matter how chaotic the world decides to be. Now that you have constructed that impenetrable shield of emotional ownership and stopped demanding perfection from a deeply flawed world, you must take the next crucial step in your psychological journey. What exactly do you do when the inevitable chaos of life actually strikes? It is one thing to sit quietly in a room and declare that you control your reactions, but it is an entirely different challenge when reality hits you right in the face. This is where we introduce the profound concept of embracing willingness, or what the ancient philosophers conceptualized as loving your fate. Most of us spend our entire lives violently resisting reality. We fight endlessly against the things we absolutely cannot change. And in doing so, we create our own mental prisons. Imagine you are driving home on a major interstate after a grueling 10-hour workday. You are exhausted, your back aches, and you just want to sit quietly on your couch. Suddenly, you see an ocean of red brake lights ahead of you. Traffic has come to a complete standstill for miles. Your immediate biological response is intense resistance. You grip the steering wheel until your knuckles turn white. You complain loudly to yourself, and you feel a suffocating wave of frustration. You keep repeating in your head that this should not be happening, that you have to get home, and that this terrible traffic is ruining your entire evening. But here is the ultimate counterintuitive truth. Your anger is not going to move a single car out of your way. Your resistance does absolutely nothing to change the objective reality of the traffic jam. It only serves to make you utterly miserable while you sit there. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus offered a brilliant solution to this exact problem when he advised that you should not seek to have events happen as you want them to, but instead want them to happen as they do, and your life will go well. This is the incredible power of embracing willingness. It means shifting your internal narrative from saying, "I have to endure this," to saying, "I choose to experience this." If you approach a mundane daily chore like washing a sink full of dirty dishes with immense reluctance, every single plate you scrub becomes a heavy burden and an internal battle. But if you voluntarily accept the task, recognizing it as a simple act of caring for your home, the burden completely melts away. The exact same logic applies to the freeway. You cannot control the thousands of cars around you, but you can completely control your attitude toward the delay. You can choose to view this unexpected pause not as a terrible punishment, but as a rare opportunity. You now have 45 uninterrupted minutes to listen to an enriching audiobook, to practice deep breathing, or simply to enjoy a rare moment of silence away from the constant demands of your office and your smartphone. By fully accepting the situation without a single ounce of resistance, the stress immediately loses its grip on your mind. You are no longer a helpless victim of the interstate. You are a willing participant in the flow of life. When you volunteer for a difficult task, whether it is helping a friend move heavy furniture or taking on a complex project, it feels fulfilling because you voluntarily chose to do it. But when you are forced to do the exact same task, it feels like torture. The physical effort is identical. The only difference is your willingness. By choosing to actively embrace whatever situation fate hands you, rather than hopelessly fighting against it. You stop swimming against the violent current of a rushing river. You finally allow yourself to float, conserving your precious energy and maintaining your absolute inner peace, no matter where the unpredictable current decides to take you. Now that you have learned to stop fighting the current and start floating gracefully through the inevitable traffic jams and daily inconveniences of life, you will begin to notice something truly fascinating about the other people thrashing around in the water next to you. When your own heart is no longer crowded with resentment or frustration, a massive new space opens up inside your mind. And this is where we introduce the ultimate psychological armor, which we can call the empathy shift. Most of the time, when someone lashes out at you, your immediate biological instinct is to take it as a deeply personal attack. But what if you completely flipped your perspective? What if you realized that the person trying to hurt you is actually just projecting their own agonizing internal battles outward into the world? Consider a highly stressful corporate environment where you work closely with a colleague who is constantly hypercritical of your performance. Every time you submit a project, they find a way to tear it down with sharp, unfair comments in front of your entire team. Your reflex is to build a defensive wall, to retaliate, and to point out their recent flaws to protect your own reputation. But if you apply the empathy shift, you stop and ask yourself one profound question before you open your mouth. What unseen war is this person fighting that I know absolutely nothing about? Imagine discovering weeks later that this highly critical coworker was going through a devastating financial crisis and was terrified of losing their family home to foreclosure. Their harsh words had absolutely nothing to do with the quality of your work. Their aggressive behavior was simply the desperate thrashing of someone who felt like they were drowning in their personal life. When you fully grasp this concept, the anger that is bubbling up inside of you instantly loses its fuel. Choosing to look through the lens of empathy does not mean you are suddenly accepting toxic behavior or allowing people to walk all over you. It means you are absolutely refusing to let their unhealed pain infect your pristine emotional state. You begin to understand that when a relative makes a deeply hurtful comment at a holiday dinner, or when a stranger snaps at you in the grocery store aisle, it is almost always born from their own profound insecurities, extreme exhaustion, or hidden grief. Because you no longer expect the world to be perfect, you also stop expecting flawed, hurting human beings to act with perfect grace. When those rigid expectations fade away, your anger simply has no foundation left to stand on. The ancient Roman philosopher Seneca captured this beautiful truth when he wrote that wherever there is a human being, there is an opportunity for kindness. By choosing empathy over retaliation, you are performing a radical act of emotional self-defense. You are stepping entirely out of their raging storm and offering a quiet, unshakable calm instead. If you can look at the person who is trying to drag you into their chaos and sincerely hope that they find peace from whatever is secretly tormenting them, you have achieved a level of emotional freedom that no amount of money or status could ever buy. You transition from being a defensive victim of other people and their unpredictable moods to becoming a grounded, unshakable force of understanding. realizing that extending forgiveness and deep compassion to the chaotic world around you is actually the greatest, most profoundly freeing gift you could ever give to your own soul. Once you have successfully vaccinated your mind against the daily disappointments of the world through mental rehearsal, you are finally ready to step into the absolute highest echelon of emotional mastery. This is the ultimate stage where you stop merely defending your mind from external negativity and actually begin to actively transform it. We can call this final, impenetrable layer of armor the ultimate freedom, which is the profound, deeply counterintuitive practice of finding pure joy in selflessness and radical forgiveness. In our modern, highly competitive society, forgiveness is fundamentally misunderstood. We are falsely taught that if someone deeply wrongs us, forgiving them means we are weak, that we are rolling over, or that we are somehow validating their toxic behavior. We hold on to our bitter grudges like heavy gold medals, firmly believing that our burning resentment is somehow punishing the person who hurt us. But the ancient Stoics understood a brilliant psychological truth. Holding on to anger is exactly like eagerly drinking a glass of deadly poison and waiting for your enemy to die. The coworker who ruthlessly sabotaged your presentation or the former partner who betrayed your trust is probably sleeping perfectly fine, while you are lying awake staring at the ceiling at 3 o'clock in the morning, your heart racing, endlessly replaying the painful interaction in your head. You are entirely trapped in a mental prison of your own making. Imagine you are sitting at a beautifully decorated table for a major holiday dinner, having traveled hundreds of miles to spend time with your family. Suddenly, an older relative starts aggressively criticizing your recent career choices, openly mocking your financial status in front of the entire gathering. Your immediate biological reflex is to aggressively lash out, to fiercely defend your wounded pride, and to retaliate with a sharp, cutting comment about their own well-known life failures. If you give in to that powerful urge, the entire evening is instantly ruined. Your blood pressure completely skyrockets, and you willingly become the exact type of chaotic monster you secretly despise. But what if you deployed the absolute ultimate weapon of emotional intelligence? The great Roman emperor and philosopher Marcus Aurelius provided the perfect strategy when he wrote that the best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury. By choosing pure, silent forgiveness in that very fraction of a second, you instantly extinguish their raging fire because you simply refuse to provide it with any oxygen. You look across the table at that bitter relative and deeply realize that their harsh, cruel words are nothing more than a desperate projection of their own profound insecurities and hidden life regrets. Choosing to forgive them does not mean you approve of their severe lack of manners. It means you are making the incredibly powerful decision to absolutely refuse to let their unhealed psychological trauma become your permanent emotional burden. When you consciously drop that heavy, suffocating backpack of resentment, a massive, peaceful space immediately opens up inside your mind. Consider a dedicated professional whose colleague was constantly criticizing his daily projects. Instead of fighting back, he simply listened and eventually discovered the colleague was secretly facing a devastating home foreclosure. By responding with quiet support rather than furious retaliation, He completely neutralized the hostility. This is the profound joy of selflessness. As the brilliant philosopher Seneca observed, wherever there is a human being, there is a distinct opportunity for kindness. By consistently choosing to offer unshakable grace and deep compassion instead of predictable retaliation, you are not just giving a beautiful gift to a flawed world. You are permanently securing your own absolute, unbreakable inner freedom. As you fully embrace this radical forgiveness and refuse to retaliate, you will begin to experience a profound psychological shift that takes you beyond mere defense. You transition from simply protecting your own energy to actively transforming the energy of the entire room around you. This is the ultimate peak of emotional mastery, a concept the ancient philosophers referred to as finding pure joy in absolute selflessness. Most people operate entirely like emotional thermometers. A thermometer simply reflects the temperature of the room it is placed in. If the room is hot and hostile, the thermometer violently rises. If someone shouts at them, they immediately shout back. But when you master the Stoic principles, you transform into an emotional thermostat. You no longer merely reflect the chaotic weather of the people around you. You actually dictate the climate. Imagine you are standing in line at a local coffee shop at 7 o'clock in the morning. The customer in front of you is relentlessly berating the young, exhausted barista over a completely trivial mistake with their complex order. The tension in the small room is thick, and everyone is beginning to feel highly anxious and profoundly irritated. The natural biological reflex is to join the collective frustration, to roll your eyes, or to quietly mutter harsh insults about the angry customer. But what if you deployed the ultimate power of selflessness? What if, when it is finally your turn to step up to the register, you warmly smile at the overwhelmed barista, drop a generous $20 tip in their jar, and sincerely thank them for working so hard during the stressful morning rush in that single, counterintuitive moment? You have completely neutralized the toxic residue left by the previous customer. You have taken a dark, heavy situation and instantly injected it with profound light and unbreakable kindness. You are no longer just surviving the chaos. You are actively curing it. The ancient Stoic teacher Epictetus profoundly stated that no man is free who is not master of himself. When you perform an act of genuine kindness without expecting a single thing in return, you are proving to yourself and to the universe that you are in absolute control of your own soul. You are completely immune to the bitterness of the external world. Modern psychological research deeply supports this ancient wisdom, proving that individuals who regularly engage in selfless acts report significantly lower stress levels and exponentially higher rates of daily happiness. It is as if human beings are biologically wired to find their highest sense of peace through lifting the heavy burdens of others. Think about how it feels when you silently pay for the toll of the car behind you on the highway, or when you patiently hold the heavy elevator door for a frantic colleague who is running late. In those beautiful, fleeting moments, all of your own personal anxieties, your looming corporate deadlines, and your minor frustrations completely evaporate. You realize that your own unshakable inner peace is directly connected to the grace you choose to extend to the deeply flawed. hurting people around you. By deciding to be a relentless source of calmness and radical generosity in a world that is so often loud and demanding, you permanently lock the heavy iron doors of your mind against anger. You finally realize that extending unshakable kindness is not a naive weakness, but rather the most formidable, impenetrable armor a human being could ever possibly wear, allowing you to walk gracefully through absolutely any storm while leaving a quiet, beautiful trail of peace directly in your wake. We have just journeyed through an incredible psychological transformation together, moving entirely from being a helpless passenger tossed around by the unpredictable moods of society to firmly gripping the steering wheel of your own emotional destiny. You now possess the ultimate tools to navigate this chaotic, deeply flawed world. You fully understand that you cannot control the careless driver swerving on the busy interstate, the highly critical coworker looking for an argument in the corporate boardroom, or the deeply frustrated customer shouting at the local coffee shop. However, you also know the profound, timeless secret of the ancient Stoic philosophers. You have absolute dictatorial control over your own mind and how you choose to interpret every single event that happens to you. By mastering the brilliant 1-second pause, wearing the heavy, protective armor of empathy, taking complete responsibility for your own internal weather, and constantly choosing the profound joy of radical forgiveness, you have effectively built an impenetrable, heavily guarded fortress around your soul. The relentless storms of human imperfection, the daily friction of misunderstandings, and the toxic negativity of unhappy people can aggressively crash against your thick stone walls all day long. But they absolutely can never force their way inside your mind without your explicit, voluntary permission. But ancient philosophy is completely useless if it simply remains as a comforting theory in your head. It absolutely must be lived, tested, and aggressively practiced in the messy, highly unpredictable reality of your daily routine. Therefore, I am leaving you today with a highly specific, actionable, 24-hour challenge. Starting the exact moment this video officially ends, I want you to step out into the world and actively look for a distinct opportunity to test your new emotional armor. The very next time someone does something that would normally make your blood boil. Perhaps a rude stranger completely cuts in front of you in a long line at the grocery store. A distracted driver recklessly steals your parking spot. Or a close friend makes a deeply passive-aggressive comment that stings your pride. I want you to do something entirely counterintuitive. Do not say a single, defensive word. Do not aggressively roll your eyes or let out a loud, heavy sigh of frustration. Instead, just take one deep, intentional breath. Offer them a genuine, quiet smile and remain completely silent. I want you to watch exactly what happens in that beautiful space of non-reaction. Feel the incredible, rushing wave of power that comes from knowing you just successfully refused to hand over the remote control of your mind to someone who is hurting. Notice how their toxic, chaotic energy simply evaporates into the empty air because you absolutely refused to give their fire any oxygen to burn. This simple, profound act of smiling and remaining completely silent is never a surrender. It is the absolute ultimate victory over a loud and chaotic world. I truly want to hear exactly how this practical challenge goes for you. Please go down into the comments section right now and share your personal stories. Tell me about the exact moment you deliberately chose unshakable peace instead of predictable retaliation, and how it completely changed the entire dynamic of your day. Reading your incredible experiences not only builds a powerfully supportive community right here, but it also proves to everyone else reading that this ancient wisdom truly works in our modern, high-pressure society. If this deep dive into mastering your emotions brought immense value to your life today, please take one brief second to physically hit the like button, as it significantly helps push this vital message out to other people who might be secretly drowning in their own anger right now. Do not forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell so you never miss out on our upcoming journeys into building a resilient, unshakable mind. Remember, the external world is always going to be loud, deeply flawed, and wildly unpredictable, but your mind belongs entirely to you. Thank you so much for investing your precious time and energy with me today. Keep practicing your unbreakable calm, and I will see you in the next video.